You're just one episode away from sleeping with the lights on. Welcome to Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski.
Welcome to Hidden Killers. I'm Tony Brueski. Today, we dive headfirst into a legal storm brewing around one of Florida's most talked about murder cases, the assassination of FSU law professor Dan Markel. But this time, it's not just about the crime. It's about the courtroom maneuvering, the conflicts of interest, and the tangled loyalties threatening to derail any shot at justice. Here's the hook. Charlie Adelson, already serving a life sentence for orchestrating Markel's death, has dropped a bombshell, claiming his own lawyer was compromised. Why? Because the same attorney was also defending Charlie's mother, Donna Adelson, who's facing trial for the same murder. But here's the kicker. Just as Donna's trial was about to begin, it imploded in spectacular fashion. Conflict surfaced, attorneys were booted, and now we're left wondering, did Charlie sabotage his mother's case to save himself? Or are the Adelsons playing the long game, manipulating the system to control the narrative? It's a story packed with betrayal, courtroom drama, and a family with an uncanny ability to stir chaos at every turn. So buckle in, because we're not just reporting on a trial. We're pulling back the curtain on the psychological games being played behind the scenes. What's really going on in the minds of the Adelsons? And if this is just the beginning, how far are they willing to go? All that and more, right now on Hidden Killers. The saga surrounding the murder of Dan Markel seemed to have reached its climax with Charlie Adelson's conviction in 2023. Markel, a prominent FSU law professor, was gunned down in his driveway in 2014, a contract-killing orchestrated, prosecutors say, by the Adelson family. At the heart of it was a bitter custody battle between Markel and his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, with family tensions boiling over into a murder-for-hire plot. And then Charlie Adelson was convicted of coordinating the hit with Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbanua, both already serving time for their roles. But while Charlie's trial ended with a life sentence, the story was far from over. Donna Adelson, Charlie's mother, was also charged, accused of playing a critical role in the scheme. Her trial was set to begin in 2024, but it quickly fell apart, triggering a wave of legal chaos that few saw coming. The cracks started to show when Charlie's new appellate attorney, Michael Ufferman, made a bold move, filing a motion to have jurisdiction of Charlie's case sent back to the lower court. Ufferman's claim was shocking. Charlie's trial had been compromised by a conflict of interest. His former attorney, Dan Rashbaum, had been representing both Charlie and Donna Adelson simultaneously, creating what Ufferman described as divided loyalty. The allegation wasn't just procedural. It cut to the heart of Charlie's Sixth Amendment right to conflict-free representation. The conflict, according to Ufferman, was more than a technicality. Donna had initially been listed as a defense witness for Charlie's trial, only to be removed when the state sought to interview her. Ufferman argued that Rashbaum's loyalty to Donna influenced that decision to Charlie's detriment. The removal of Donna as a witness, Ufferman claimed, weakened Charlie's defense and served only to protect his mother. This, he argued, was evidence enough to justify a retrial. As this revelation made headlines, questions started swirling. Was Charlie's move to expose the conflict a calculated attempt to secure a new trial? Or was it a desperate play to distance himself from his mother's legal strategy, which seemed poised to collapse under the weight of conflicts and attorney reshuffles? Compounding the drama was the implosion of Donna Adelson's own trial, which came to a screeching halt on the very first day of jury selection. Rashbaum, facing mounting pressure from all sides, abruptly withdrew as Donna's attorney. His departure left the courtroom in disarray, forcing the judge to declare a continuance and send hundreds of jurors home. Witnesses who had been flown in and co-conspirators transferred from out-of-state prisons were sent back, unsure of when or if the trial would resume. The sudden collapse of Donna's trial raised eyebrows. Legal analysts speculated whether the Adelsons had orchestrated the chaos deliberately. Could Charlie's refusal to waive conflicts have been part of a broader strategy to disrupt the proceedings? If so, it was a masterstroke in legal maneuvering, ensuring both mother and son could potentially face retrials, this time with a new defense approach. At the heart of the turmoil was the unsettling question of loyalty. As Rashbaum stepped away from Donna's case, whispers circulated that his proximity to the Adelson family had clouded his judgment. How could one attorney fairly represent two individuals with such intertwined yet conflicting interests? The situation became a textbook example of how divided loyalties can derail even the most meticulously planned defense. The judge overseeing Donna's case, Stephen Everett, had warned repeatedly about the potential for conflicts. Yet, despite these warnings, the Adelsons had pushed forward with Rashbaum representing them both. Now, with the defense in shambles, Everett's frustration was evident. His decision to disqualify Rashbaum's co-counsels from continuing on Donna's case underscored the severity of the ethical breach. The consequences of the courtroom chaos were immediate. Donna's trial, originally slated to begin in September 2024, was postponed indefinitely. Meanwhile, Charlie's appeal was gaining momentum, with Ufferman suggesting that a retrial could be on the horizon. If granted, it would mean both Charlie and Donna would face fresh trials, a scenario that could radically reshape the prosecution's strategy. The implications were staggering. Would Charlie and Donna now be tried together, presenting a united front? Or would their legal paths diverge further, each seeking to pin the blame on the other? And perhaps the most tantalizing question of all, had Charlie sacrificed his mother's defense in a bid to save himself? The answers remained elusive, but one thing was clear: the Adelsons weren't done fighting. Their legal strategy was unfolding like a high-stakes chess match, with each move designed to outmaneuver the prosecution and maintain control of the narrative. It was a strategy that had served them well in the past, but as the stakes continued to rise, the risks were growing exponentially. As the dust settled from the abrupt postponement of Donna Adelson's trial, the prosecution braced for what would come next. The tangled web of conflicts and legal maneuvers cast a cloud of uncertainty over the entire case. Observers speculated that the Adelsons were deliberately sowing chaos to gain control over the proceedings. Charlie's sudden pivot toward exposing the conflict of interest with his attorney, Rashbaum, fueled theories that his new legal strategy might involve dragging everyone back to square one. Attorney Michael Ufferman's request to send Charlie's case back to the lower court was bold, but it wasn't without merit. The conflict between representing both Donna and Charlie created serious ethical concerns, leaving the court little choice but to scrutinize the validity of the original trial. Rashbaum's involvement with both mother and son had left the defense vulnerable, and Charlie's new counsel argued that the integrity of the proceedings had been fundamentally compromised. Meanwhile, in the background, the tension within the family seemed to simmer dangerously. Donna's trial delay now meant her case was in limbo, and any retrial of Charlie's conviction would force prosecutors to reassess their strategy. Tim Jansen, a seasoned criminal defense attorney, remarked that this could result in both Donna and Charlie standing trial simultaneously, a scenario prosecutors were likely dreading. The possibility of dueling defenses where each Adelson pointed the finger at the other loomed large. Speculation ran wild about Charlie's motivations. Had he genuinely been wronged by his attorney's conflicted representation? Or was he deliberately blowing up Donna's defense in hopes of gaining leverage for his appeal? Legal insiders suggested that Charlie's decision to withdraw his waiver of conflict might have been calculated, not only to ensure a retrial, but also to distance himself from Donna and shift the narrative. The family's tightly controlled defense strategy was unraveling at the seams, and it wasn't clear who would emerge on top. Judge Everett's growing frustration with the defense tactics was palpable. His decision to disqualify the remaining attorneys from Donna's team underscored his concern that the entire trial process had been tainted by conflicts. As Everett pushed the reset button on Donna's trial, it became clear that the Adelsons would not be able to rely on their previous defense narrative. With Rashbaum out, a new lead attorney would step in, potentially reshaping Donna's defense from the ground up. This reset could also benefit prosecutors who now had time to sharpen their case. Evidence previously sidelined due to the double extortion theory, where the Adelsons claimed they were victims of extortion, could come back into play. Prosecutors hinted at introducing damning texts from Charlie where he speculated about drug dealers and possible involvement in the murder plot. These revelations, coupled with the disjointed defense, could make it harder for the Adelsons to maintain their narrative of innocence. Charlie's appellate motion also posed another intriguing question. Would the new trials shift focus toward the Adelson family's internal dynamics? Prosecutors could potentially explore new angles examining how far the family went to protect Wendy Adelson and orchestrate a cover-up. With each new legal twist, the case grew more complex, pulling in family history, betrayal, and questions of loyalty, transforming it into something far more than a straightforward murder trial. The looming December 10th court appearance for Donna Adelson was another potential flashpoint. If Donna's new legal team adopted a different defense strategy, it could pit her interests directly against Charlie's. The prosecution, sensing an opportunity, might attempt to drive a wedge between the two, hoping one would turn on the other. This evolving dynamic introduced a psychological element to the case, raising questions about how much loyalty remained within the family and whether it would survive under the pressure of simultaneous trials. As the legal battles dragged on, the Markel family, still grieving, waited anxiously for justice. They had already endured years of delays, false narratives, and shifting legal strategies. Now, with the possibility of multiple new trials, it was unclear when or how this nightmare would end. The prosecution vowed to stay the course, but the Adelsons' ability to disrupt the process left many wondering if they would ever be held fully accountable. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the case was how effortlessly the Adelsons seemed to manipulate the legal system. They were playing a long game, leveraging every delay, every conflict, and every legal technicality to their advantage. It was a masterclass in controlling the narrative, one that left even seasoned attorneys marveling at the sheer audacity of their strategy. Would the courts see through the chaos and deliver justice, or were the Adelsons one step ahead, ensuring they could stay free long enough to rewrite the story in their favor? As the next chapter in this legal saga approached, only one thing was certain. Nothing about the case was over, not by a long shot. The case against Charlie and Donna Adelson is a textbook example of how intricate family dynamics can play out in the courtroom. At the heart of this legal saga is the question of divided loyalties. Loyalties not only between family members, but also between attorneys, clients, and the truth itself. The tangled relationship between Charlie's trial, Donna's pending charges, and the shared attorney has shifted what once seemed like an open and shut case into a convoluted legal battlefield. What stands out most is the depth of the Adelson strategy. Charlie's withdrawal of the conflict waiver didn't just delay his mother's trial, it sent shockwaves through the legal system. The possibility that he might intentionally sabotage Donna's defense to secure his own retrial forces us to ask a hard question. How far would someone go to regain their freedom, even if it means turning against their own mother? The implications are staggering, revealing the complexity of human behavior when the stakes are life and liberty. The shifting defense strategies also raise critical questions about the psychology of control. If Charlie is orchestrating these moves from behind bars, it points to a calculated effort to manipulate both the courts and his family to his advantage. Is this a desperate attempt to right what he perceives as a legal wrong? Or is it a long-term play by the Adelson family using every available resource to avoid accountability and control the narrative at all costs? Donna's silence throughout the ordeal has been equally striking. Her removal from the defense witness list, allegedly to protect her own interests, hints at a family willing to close ranks when necessary, but only when it serves them individually. It leaves us wondering if we're witnessing not just a legal defense strategy, but a breakdown of trust within the Adelson family itself. The dynamic of family members pitted against one another, each seeking to minimize personal fallout, transforms the case from a tragic murder into a psychological study in betrayal and survival. Yet, for the prosecution, time may be on their side. The more Charlie and Donna push for new trials and revised strategies, the more evidence surfaces to counter their narrative. With each new hearing, the prosecution sharpens its case, exposing contradictions and inconsistencies that make it harder for the defense to sustain their version of events. If Charlie does get a new trial, it's likely to bring more exposure, not less, and the stakes will only grow higher. The legal system is designed to balance fairness with justice, but cases like this test that balance to its limits. The Adelsons' ability to manipulate technicalities and create delays speaks to a deeper problem, a system vulnerable to exploitation by those who understand how to work it to their advantage. Whether this strategy succeeds or backfires remains to be seen, but it sets a dangerous precedent for other high-profile cases. In the end, we are left with a chilling reminder of just how far people will go when faced with the threat of losing everything. The question now is whether justice will prevail or if the Adelsons will manage to rewrite the ending to their story. I'm Tony Brueski. If you want to stay up to date on this case and others we cover, be sure to subscribe.
In a world where the darkest secrets lie just beneath the surface,
They said it was an accident, but the evidence says otherwise.
where hidden killers roam unnoticed in the shadows.
I think you would definitely be looking at a blend of toxic, very bad narcissistic personality traits, and they will be vengeful and possibly resort to violence.
Join Tony Brueski as he uncovers the truth behind the most chilling cases.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence clearly says otherwise.
Each episode, we dig deep into the minds of those who commit the unthinkable.
To your point on narcissism, he thinks in his own mind how witty he is.
Yeah.
But he lost that jury. I was done with him in 2 minutes.
From unsolved mysteries to infamous crimes.
Geez, you've just talked about how you've taught yourself how to do everything under the sun. I bet you did a YouTube video, how to best kill somebody with a knife.
Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski takes you where few dare to go.
How does someone with such a dark secret go unnoticed for so long?
With multiple new episodes every single day.
We're not just telling stories, we're seeking justice.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski.